Good morning, church. It's Reverend Ahmondra, and I am live in Carlsbad, coming to you from the Center for Spiritual Living in Carlsbad. If you are like me, you realize that today is the last Sunday in July. I'm like, oh my God, where did the year go? What have I done? I've done a lot, but it doesn't feel like it because I'm not out and about. And I'm sure that there are others who feel the same way I do. Today, my topic is called Speaking with an Active Voice. And when I was thinking about this topic earlier in the month, I really wanted to make sure I got across to you what I meant when I said speaking with an active voice. It means to me allowing us to hear that still small voice within that's always encouraging us to step forward and to do and to be. It doesn't mean that we have millions of followers on Facebook or on Twitter, or that we are an influencer, or that we have followers. It doesn't mean that. It means that we step up and we're not afraid to speak what's so for us. It might be something like helping a neighbor who's next door who can't get out to shop, writing an article or a blog, creating a friends group where you guys are all getting together and you're reading the same book. It might be something like creating a video, creating a project that you've had sitting on the shelf, taking it off the shelf, and actually beginning to do something with it. We never know where God is leading us and how what we do or what we say might have an impact. I'll give you a quick example. I made a decision that if someone crossed my mind, that I would give them a call. Well, I just so happened to have a coworker that I used to work with 20 years ago cross my mind. And I got in touch with her. And she is in the beginning stages of dementia, Alzheimer's, so she didn't remember me, but I spoke to her daughter. And in this conversation, her daughter was saying to me, you know, I'm thinking about going and get my doctorate, but I'm 50 years old and I feel like, I don't want to go back to school, that's too old. And I started laughing. And I shared with her that I just completed my doctorate. And I said, I'm 17 years your senior. And something inside of her shifted and she said, thank you. Because now I feel okay to go ahead and apply. I have no idea where the work that this woman is going to do is going to be in the world. We don't know. But when we step up and when we speak up and we use our voice to share with others just what's inside our heart, miracles happen. Now, I also want to say that our voices aren't always audible. There's something that I call a spiritual voice that's inaudible. This voice is made up of all our thoughts, all our feelings, and it goes into the world and it makes an impact. Let me share this with you. The founder of religious science, Ernest Holmes, shares this with us. Did you ever stop to think that you are a spiritual and mental broadcasting station? And that messages are going out from you in all directions, perhaps even when you are asleep. Messages that would have an influence on your environment, the people around you, and the world. There's a place where our physical bodies begin and leave off, but the mind has no such limitations. Our thoughts penetrate everything around. We are broadcasting stations whether we know it or not. Our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, our faith, our fears, tend to make an impression on our environment. Speaking with an active voice, allowing how you're feeling inside to come out, puts us in places we don't always choose to go. Many times when we speak out, it's from a place of pain. Something has occurred in our life and we don't want anyone else to have that same experience. So we step up and we become someone's salvation. In 1980, Candy Lightner was a homemaker, a wife, a mother, leading an ordinary life until tragedy hit her family. Her 13-year-old daughter, Carrie, was killed by a drunk driver. And this drunk driver had multiple DUIs. But at that time in America, there were very few consequences for people driving while under the influence. The day after the funeral, Candy stood in her daughter's room and she made a vow that she would step up and speak out and do something so that no other life would be taken by someone driving under the influence. So she organized and she united with other mothers who had lost their children to drivers who were driving under the influence, and together they created an organization called MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. 40 years later, it is one of the most successful grassroots organizations that has come about in our country. The DUI rate in our country has been reduced by 50%. They got laws changed, but more importantly, they got attitudes changed. Today in America, people who drive under the influence have consequences that are dire. We have changed the culture of how we deal with DUIs, and it all started from one woman who decided to step up and speak with an active voice. Sometimes we witness the pain that someone else goes through, and it moves our heart, and we say, you know what, I'm going to step up because I know I could make an impact and help others so that they don't have to experience this type of pain. In 1945, there was a woman named Elizabeth Blackwell. She became the first woman to receive a medical degree in the United States. She watched a friend suffer and die from uterine cancer. And she decided that she wanted to make an impact in this world by offering better health care. So she stepped up and she became that what she wanted to see in the world. She became a proponent for better health care. In our 12-step programs, there's this saying that's very popular, and it goes like this: are you walking your talk? Meaning, are your actions in alignment with what you're saying? Because when we speak with an active voice, our actions and our words are in alignment. There was a woman named Mildred Norman who decided literally to walk her talk. She lived her life by the golden rule. She believed that everyone could become an instrument for peace. We know Mildred as the Peace Pilgrim. During her 28 years journey, she walked over 25,000 miles, and along her walk, she spoke to thousands of individuals. And I want to share some of the messages that she put out. She said, face life squarely and get beneath the surface. Live all the good things you believe in. Do what you feel guided to do, and don't be afraid because God is there with you. When she first started her walk, She said she was walking one day and the wind got so strong it started blowing hard enough to push her down. And then the dust kicked up. So she was walking against the wind and it was a dust storm. She said a police car drove up next to her. He threw open the door and he said, "Get in." And she said she looked at him and she said, no, I'm good. God's going to protect me. She said in that moment, and she was afraid, but she said, hey, the wind just died down, the dust stopped, and the sun came out. And she said in that instant, she knew she could continue her journey and she did not need to be afraid anymore. Seek to do what uplifts others. That's being of service. When we speak with an active voice, we are in service. And when we're in service, we feel good. Because that's who we are, divine beings connected to other divine beings. And when I help you, I'm also helping myself. Relinquish attitudes that do not serve the greater good. Liberate yourself from debilitating habits and release the need to control others and outcomes. The next 6 days in our country, we are celebrating the life of a man who spoke with an active voice all his life, Mr. John Lewis. When Mr. Lewis was a young man, he heard someone speaking on a transistor radio. Some of you remember what those are. If you don't, Google it. He heard Dr. Martin Luther King speaking on the radio. He sat down, and with an active voice, he wrote Dr. King a letter saying how he wanted to be involved because he believed in what he was saying. Dr. King sent that young man a bus ticket to come to where he was. History was made. Dr. King had no idea when he answered that letter with a bus ticket who this young man was going to be. John Lewis put fear behind him and he stepped in the face of danger so his voice could be heard. He leaves us with the legacy of speaking with the active voice. I heard yesterday that he is going to be the first individual to lay in state in our country's capital. Jesus of Nazareth believed that all men and women, regardless of who they were divine beings and had a right to understand that they were loved by God and that they were made in the image and likeness of God. And he spoke with an active voice, and it cost him his life. When we speak with an active voice, we simply stand in faith that we are protected, that we have a powerful message. Now, these past 6 months, 7 months, where we've been impacted by the virus has reminded us how vulnerable we can be. But we can also still touch the lives of others around us. Currently in our country, many of us are experiencing deep levels of grief because we've lost individuals. Sadness, because when we look around, it's difficult to see bright spots. Because we hear how the numbers are going up and we hear how individuals are being impacted. But we have to understand that we can make an impact on this world. I understand that many of us think that because we aren't out walking the earth, spreading the message of peace like the Peace Pilgrim, or we're not out in the streets with the thousands of protesters lending our voice to theirs, that our voice can't be heard. But you don't have to be out in the street lending your voice to movements such as Black Lives Matter. There's one major blessing that has come out of the pandemic. And it is the virtual connections that all of us are making. Many of us have learned how to connect to others through Zoom using our computers. Many of us used to say, I'm computer illiterate. I don't know about all that technology. But guess what? Those same people now are online creating chat groups, joining others. There's so many organizations and movements that we can get involved with simply by joining a Zoom call, a webinar. Last week, I had the opportunity to tune into a Zoom call for the Poor People's Campaign open house here in San Diego. I heard about advocacy taking place across the United States. Events I would have never had the privilege to know about. I didn't say a word, but I lent my energy. And therefore, I was speaking with an active voice. I was speaking with my spiritual voice because I was adding my energy to their energy. I also had an opportunity to join other interfaith ministers on a call, monthly call, where we get together and we worship and we pray for peace in our world. I wasn't verbal on that call either. I wasn't verbal with an audible message, but I was verbal with an inaudible message. I know that we are living in challenging times. Many of us are isolated in our homes. Some of us have plans that are put on indefinite hold. But I know that without a shadow of a doubt, that good is emerging out of something that many of us have labeled as bad. This morning, I want to share with you some inspiring words and teachings so that as we move forward in the challenging times that we're facing, we'll understand that our voices do matter. We have to know that everything we do, every word we say, and every positive thought we have makes an impact in our world. As long as we maintain faith in God, Spirit, infinite intelligence, a higher power, we can be victorious over any situation that we face as individuals, as a group, as a country, as a world. We have to remember that to live in the present means to be conscious of what we say, how we say it. The future will unfold according to whatever seeds we plant today. So why not plant seeds of love, plant seeds of peace? Love those who are out of harmony with walking their talk. Pray for them and elevate them to a higher path. Let us use our prayers for those who we may feel are on different paths than we are. One of the things that we definitely want to do is we want to abandon fear and we want to replace it with faith. We want to seek peace and know that peace is possible. And then we want to become an example for others. I truly believe that speaking with an active voice means that we actively pray for others. I understand that many of us are sequestered in our homes. But guess what? We can sit in a chair and meditate and speak powerfully with our spiritual voice and send it out into the universe and make a powerful impact on our world. This morning, I want to end with a prayer. And I would ask each of you right now to just settle in. Take a deep cleansing breath, let it out. Relax your body and just listen to these words. Allow your eyes to close if you choose to. I affirm truth for everyone I hold in prayer today. As I pray for others, I see each one for whom I pray as divine and know the truth that each one is a living expression of infinite intelligence. My purpose in prayer is not to focus on the particulars of the situation, but to hold a higher view. As I set out a prayer this morning, I hold the vision that all challenging circumstances are moving towards a satisfying resolution in one way or another. I will ease all thoughts about the situation that prompted the prayer need and focus on the activity of divine intelligence. As I pray, I see the life, the love, the wisdom, and the power of spirit at work. Knowing that healing has already occurred, strengthening has already taken place, and peace has already been established for all that I pray for this day. I send my prayer out into the universe knowing that I am a broadcasting station and that what I send out touches the world and returns back to me. And so I release these words today in love, and I anchor them by saying, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. As we step into this new week, leading into a brand new month, let us all remember to speak with an active voice. Whether it's in your home or it's outside, you decide. But just remember that everything you do makes a difference. I want to add a blessing to these words and to each and every one of you. Have a blessed rest of the day and go into next month charged up, speaking with an active voice. I love each and every one of you. Thank you.